Hello everyone. Today we will discuss some more issues in classification and regression trees. One of the issues is how to deal with categorical predictors. Okay. Especially nominal, because in ordinal at least you can have some order, but you can use the method that we are going to use now also. See, we said that in a tree every split is decided in something like this format. So you have to choose xj and you have to choose s, the threshold. So actually it's a lot of work. But for continuous predictor, it is comparatively easy because there will be some sort of pattern in it. Okay. So generally, because we want anyway binary split, so you know how to proceed, you know the direction. But in categorical predictor, so when I say you know direction, what I am saying is, if you decide that this is going to be threshold, then you know, okay, these are all going to left node, these are all going to right node. Okay, so you just have to keep moving the threshold. You don't have to do much. However, in the case of categorical predictor, what would happen? You have to try all possible combinations. Okay, so you can't actually say this is my category 1, this is my category 2, means say level 2, level 3, and you can't say okay, I will shift my threshold from here to say here and then move these two to the left and remaining to right, then try this combination where these two are to left and remaining to right. Just doing this much is not enough, because it may be possible that category 1, category 3 should go to left node and category 2 should go to right node with others. This is also possible, right? As a result, there are just too many combinations which we can decide, for going to left node and right node. Can you see exactly how many combinations are there? So let me consider a categorical predictor which has k levels or k categories. So if you have k levels, how many combinations are possible? So you have to divide these k levels into two groups. One is going to be the left group, other is going to be the right group. So how many possible combinations are there? Just give it a thought. Okay, perhaps someone is guessing 2 raised to k. At the first thought that sounds about right. Let us see. So for every level I have two choices. So for example, if I consider level 1, L1, it can go either to left node or to right node. Similarly, L2, it can go either to left node or to right node, and so on. And these are independent. If L1 goes to left node, that does not necessarily increase the chances of L2 going to left or right node. Okay, so they are independent. As a result, what I know is I have two choices for L1, two choices for L2, and so on till Lk. So I have 2 raised to k choices. But is this answer correct? Give it a bit more thought. Are there some possibilities which I want to avoid? Correct. See, one possibility is here all these levels ending up in left node. We don't want that. We want both the nodes to be non-empty, right? So I want to subtract that, and similarly I want to subtract the possibility of all of them being in right node also. So this 2 raised to k minus 2, okay, 2 raised to k minus 2, and there is some slight bit of more catch. See, suppose I have only 3 levels, L1, L2, L3. So the combinations that I have considered here, one combination would be L1 in one node, L2, L3 in another node. At the same time, L2, L3 here and L1 here is another combination. Okay, so this is combination 1, this is combination 2. But technically, are these two separate combinations? No, because what I am doing is, I am just calling this as left node and calling this as right node, but does it really matter? As long as my levels are not ordered, it doesn't really matter what is left and what is right. So even when I say this is left and this is right, basically these two combinations are giving me exact same split. So I don't want that. Okay, so I have to avoid all such repetition. So I have to divide by 2, right? Because every such combination is going to occur twice. So the total number of possible splits is 2 raised to k minus 2 upon 2. So basically 2 raised to k minus 1 minus 1. Okay. For a categorical predictor with k levels, the number of possibilities is 2 raised to k minus 1 minus 1, and it is quite difficult for an algorithm to handle this. So as k increases, for example, even if say k is 5, you have 5 levels, still you get 2 raised to k minus 1 means 2 raised to 4. So 15 possible combinations. So as k increases, the complexity increases. Okay. Hence, people started thinking, is there any way in which we can simplify this process? Okay. So what are the options that they thought of? In continuous scenario, things are easier because the values of xi's are ordered in some sense. So if you have a cutoff here, you just have to worry about moving the cutoff in one direction. So they thought, can something similar be done in categorical variable? And here is what they thought of as a solution. So let me first talk about classification setup. So I am in the classification setup means my y is, the response variable is categorical. Okay. So the error that I am going to measure is in terms of misclassification. Okay. And for the sake of simplicity, let me say y is binary response. Okay, y is binary response. So I have a categorical predictor, let us say x. I want to see how to arrange levels of x in such a way that choosing an optimal split would simply mean placing the threshold at the right level and then moving it in the left or right direction. Okay. So suppose there are 3 levels of x, L1, L2, L3. Now what I'll do is, we will compute probability of y being equal to say 1 when level of x is 1, when level of x is L2, and when level of x is L3. Okay. So we kind of find conditional probability of y equal to 1 given x is equal to L1, then conditional probability of y equal to 1 given x equal to L2, and conditional probability of y equal to 1 given x equal to L3. How do I do that? Quite simple. I have to just see for how many observations x is L1. If suppose I have 50 observations for which x is L1, out of those 50 I have to see for how many the value of y is 1. So if out of these 50, 30 I have y equal to 1 and remaining 20 have y equal to 0, then my proportion here becomes 3 by 5. The probability of y equal to 1 given that x equal to L1 becomes 3 by 5. For L2 suppose it is 1 by 5, and for L3 suppose it is 4 by 5. I am choosing the denominator 5 just for the sake of convenience, nothing else. Okay, it could very well be some other number. Now what do? We arrange these levels in such a way that probability of y equal to 1 is ordered, either decreasing or increasing. So if I want decreasing, I would have L3, then L1 and L2. Okay, because L3 had the highest value of probability y equal to 1, L1 had the second highest value of probability y equal to 1, and L2 had the least value of probability y equal to 1. Okay, and so what we are trying to do is, we are trying to put neighbors in terms of response together. Let me repeat what I am saying. See, because we have ordered the levels as per the proportion of y being equal to 1, those levels for which proportion of y equal to 1 is almost similar, they are put together. Okay, so the neighboring relationship is in terms of y. Okay, and that neighboring relationship is going to help us, because now what we will do, if L3 is something like this, if I arrange L3, L1, L2, now I will decide threshold just by moving. So one possibility, I would keep L3 in one class, L1, L2 in another class. Another possibility is I move my threshold here, so L3, L1 here and L2 here. Okay, so I have to consider only two possibilities. So in general, initially we said we will have to consider 2 raised to k minus 1 minus 1. But here, if I am going to order the levels, so ordered level 1, ordered level 2 and ordered level k, then I have to worry about putting my threshold here or here, so between each of them only. I don't have to worry about other places. So how many choices do I have? Only k minus 1. Okay. So I won't allow the possibility of OL1 and OL3 being in same class and OL2 and remaining being in another class. Why? Because now I have ordered these as per the response, so the neighbors should stay together. So OL1 and OL2 are neighbors, OL2 and OL3 are neighbors, but OL1 and OL3 are not neighbors unless you bring in OL2 also. Okay, so such combinations that we need to check are eliminated, and as a result we will have drastic reduction in the number of comparisons. So from 2 raised to k minus 1 minus 1, we are reaching k minus 1. Try for k equal to 6. So if I have k equal to 6, I have 2 raised to 5 minus 1. So 2 raised to 5 is 64 minus 1, so 63. Whereas here I have just 5. See, I mean the dramatic reduction in computational efforts, and of course that would make your algorithm faster. Is it okay? This is how you handle categorical predictors in trees. Okay, so what to do if my y is continuous? If my y is continuous, I have to just change the things slightly. So if y is continuous, what I'll do is for every level L1, L2, L3, I would compute kind of conditional mean of y for that level. Okay, so what is the mean of y when level is 1? What is when level of x is 1? What is the mean of y when level of x is 2? And what is the mean of y when level of x is 3? So if it is say 0.8, 1.9 and 1.1, then I would arrange as L2, L3, L1. So again in the order of conditional mean of y. So again depending on y, I would decide which levels are neighbors and I would do the exact same exercise. Okay. Now there is one more thing that we need to worry about. The importance or criticality of each type of error. Okay, importance or criticality of each type of error. Now again see, what do I mean by this? So far we were saying that if I have binary classes, misclassification from 0 to 1 and misclassification from 1 to 0 both are equally bad. Okay, but that need not be the case always. Okay, that need not be the case always. My favorite example is, if suppose you are developing a diagnostic test which is very easy to operate. Okay, so suppose you are developing a portable machine which tests the heart of a person, and it's kind of replacement for angiography. Okay, so you have a portable machine which does the big job, and if your machine indicates that the person is going to have blockages, then the person is sent for further treatment to a bigger hospital. Okay, you are in a village, your machine is so lightweight, you bring it on a two-wheeler, you go to a village, bring the machine on a two-wheeler, you test everyone, and if your machine indicates that the person is likely to have blockages, you recommend that person to a bigger hospital. And if your machine indicates that there is no indication of blockages, the person doesn't do anything, he or she doesn't need follow-up. Okay, so you have two categories. Now here, which type of misclassification is more serious? See what will happen. If I classify a person with blockages to a category as person with no blockages, that would mean that the person, even though he or she has blockages, would not visit the doctor, As a result, the person would be deprived of treatment and his or her condition may worsen. Okay. Whereas the other type of error is comparatively less serious. If you declare a person with no blockage as a person with blockage, he or she is going to follow up with a bigger doctor who would eventually tell that no, there was a mistaken diagnosis, you don't have to worry, just be happy. Of course, there is a small possibility that the person panics and has a heart attack because of the panic, but let us assume that that's not going to happen. Okay. Then, so here we have a scenario where one type of error is more serious than other. So in such cases, we have to modify our rules. So we can bring in what is known as loss matrix. Okay, what is a loss matrix? So I will have actual class here and predicted class here. So actual class 0, 1, predicted class 0, 1. So these are anyway no losses, correct predictions. So if actual class of 0 is predicted as 1, and for me suppose that is less serious, so let me put some 1 here as a loss, whereas actual person who is in class 1 to be predicted as class 0 is more serious, so let me put loss as 5 here. So it is 5 times more serious. Okay, the error is 5 times more serious. So this is known as loss matrix. How do I use this loss matrix? This loss matrix can be scaled to get kind of like probabilities, and then I can change my probabilities by this way. Means what? So far what we were doing in the leaf node we used to say, okay, go with the majority. Okay, that was our strategy. But now what we will do, if you have two types of course you are going to have two types of observations in the leaf node. So you will say if probability, so if the, see, going from class 1 to class 0, so predicting something as class 0 is a serious error. So you will say that if probability of class 0 in this particular class is greater than 5 by 6, then only you will term this as class 0. Okay, getting my point? If probability of class 0 is greater than 5 by 6, then only you will term it as class 0, otherwise you will term it as class 1. Let me give an example. So suppose you have data where 20 observations are coming from class 1 and 30 observations are coming from class 0. So in the normal setup, I would have declared this node as a class 0 node because majority is class 0. But here, proportion of class 0 observations is 3 by 5. Okay, and 3 by 5 is less than 5 by 6. So we would declare it as class 1. We wouldn't declare it as class 0 even though class 0 is clearly in the majority. Okay, this is one way of handling such unequal error probabilities. Sorry, not probabilities, importances. Is there any other way? Yes, there is some other way called as modified Gini index. Okay, you know the usual Gini index, but you don't have to stop there. There is something called as modified Gini index. So what is your formula for Gini index? You compute, so let us say I am focusing on a particular node. So you have pk into 1 minus pk, right? Sum over k. Okay, sum over k, pk into 1 minus pk. So this Gini index formula is for binary data. But if I have multiple category response, okay, multiple category response, so I have suppose L1, L2, LR, R categories, then the general formula, usual, okay, not the modified, usual formula for Gini index is actually pk prime, where k goes from 1 to R, k prime goes from 1 to R, and k not equal to k prime. Okay, k goes from 1 to R, k prime goes from 1 to R, and k not equal to k prime. Is it okay? So what we will do is we can modify Gini index using loss matrix. So we can define Gini index as the sum remains as it is, but instead of just pk prime, I can have L k prime here. So loss of categorizing an observation from kth class as an observation from k prime class. Okay, so we can have modified Gini index as summation lk k prime pk pk prime. Okay, prime is here. Okay, now see, the thing is, this won't work for binary, because for binary pk pk prime would remain the same, so it would be some multiple of the original Gini index, so it doesn't work for binary. Hence for binary we have to go to the earlier modifying our decision. So you categorize only if your probability is greater than a certain bigger threshold than half. Okay, whereas for other things you can use modified Gini index, means for non-binary. A typical example of non-binary where misclassification errors are different can be, say, malnourished person, healthy person and obese person. So you have three levels: malnourished, healthy and obese. So here also misclassifications are of different severity or seriousness level. Diagonals are anyway fine. See, classifying a malnourished person as healthy is bad because you won't give him or her the required nutrition. So it is bad. But this is even worse. So this is, say, further bad. Classifying healthy as malnourished is okay. It is bad but okay, so maybe 1.5. Classifying healthy as obese is again bad because you won't give him equal amount of food, so maybe 1.2, something like that. Classifying obese as malnourished is terrible because you would keep on feeding the person, so it is maybe bad. Classifying obese as healthy is also bad but not that bad, so maybe 1.8, something like this. So with such a loss matrix I can compute modified Gini index. So suppose I have a class where I have 40 observations of one type, 30 observations of another type and 10 observations of another type. So this is malnourished, healthy, obese. Okay, so let us compute usual Gini index and modified Gini index. Usual Gini index would be 0.4 into 0.3, okay, plus 0.4 into 0.1 plus 0.3 into 0.4 plus 0.3 into 0.1. So basically you are considering every possible pair, plus 0.1 into 0.4 plus 0.1 into 0.3. Okay, so this is 2 times 0.4 into 0.3 plus 0.4 into 0.1 plus 0.3 into 0.4. Okay, this is usual Gini index. What is a modified Gini index? So modified Gini index, even if you don't do scaling, it's fine because in scaling you are going to multiply each and every number by the same amount. So modified Gini index would be, now malnourished to healthy, the classification is 2, so the loss is 2, so it would be 2 times 0.4 into 0.3 plus malnourished to obese was 4, much worse, so 4 times 0.4 into 0.1 plus healthy to malnourished. Healthy to malnourished is 1.5, so 1.5 times 0.3 into 0.4 plus healthy to obese. So healthy to obese is 1.2 times 0.3 into 0.1 plus 3 times 0.1 into 0.4 plus 1.8 times 0.1 into 0.3. Okay, so this is a modified Gini index. Okay, so try to construct a scenario where your decision based on Gini index and the modified Gini index would be different. Okay, so this is how you handle differences in the severity of the errors for you. Okay, misclassification errors for you. Is it okay? Now how to, okay, now one more question that people ask me is, if my response is non-binary, Okay, so response is suppose non-binary but categorical, so you have multiple levels. Why do we still go for binary split? Okay, why not bigger splits? Means why not split directly into say 3 ways or 4 ways? Okay, see the thing is binary splits can also achieve 3-way or 4-way splits, something like this. Okay, so see here multiple ways, or even if you take horizontally 1 2 3 4 multiple ways. Okay, so recursive binary can actually give you the required number of levels. Okay, and it has been more accurate than the multiple splits at every point. Okay, this gives required number of splits. This is important. Okay, what are other things? See, trees may fail to capture the linear structure. That is one of the cons of trees. Okay, linear or additive, to be precise, additive structure. So for example, if my ideal criterion is of the form x1 plus x2 less than something and x1 plus x2 greater than or equal to something, okay, suppose this is my ideal category, then trees would fail to catch up on that structure, because every time split is based just on one variable. There is no split based on addition of two variables. Okay, some people did try to rectify this situation by doing summation alpha j xj type of business, so kind of taking linear combination, so this less than s, something like that. But the problem is this increases computational complexity by a very significant margin. Okay, that is one issue. It increases computational complexity a lot. And secondly, the beauty of the tree is in its interpretability, so that elegance would go away, because you can't explain why BMI of something plus age of something plus height something leads to more chances of heart attack. Okay, so you can't, explaining that becomes difficult. So interpretability is an issue, hence people finally started giving up on this. Okay, as we know that trees always go for recursive partitions which are either horizontal or vertical. If your structure is something like this for the two classes, so class 1 here, class 2 here, it's fine, trees can handle it very well. But if the structure is something like this or something like this, trees cannot handle it that well. Okay, so in such cases logistic regression or SVM etc. may be better suited. And one more important con of trees is its instability. Trees are pretty unstable. So if you change say even one or two observations, your tree may change significantly. So trees are generally not robust. Okay, so they are very sensitive, not robust. So even if you change one or two observations in your data, you may get entirely different results. Okay, that is another drawback. Okay, so let me stop here. Thank you. Let me stop here. Thank you.